Hi guys, it's Crystal and I am back with yet another craft. This one is a somewhat specific craft. It's a little fun to do, but you can easily adapt it for another very popular mask holiday. What I'm making today is Purim masks. It's really hard to get a good angle, this guy. But I made this with an adorable little munchkin. Her name is Abigail and she is 6 years old. And this is the mask that she made me. Don't know if you can really see it here, especially with the glare, but the top portion of the mask is white and then the bottom portion is a sky blue. And I thought it's really cool how she thought to do that being so young. I'm going to show you guys how to make a homemade Purim mask, which are a really great craft for kids. If you don't celebrate Purim, you could just quite as easily translate this into Halloween masks or any other holiday where you might wear masks. And I think a great holiday to wear masks might be just Tuesday. Who doesn't like dressing up, right? There's actually not a whole lot that I can tell you that you need. Obviously, you will need to get a mask. The rest of the craft's completely up to you. There are a few different types of masks you can get. The easiest one to find are these plastic ones. Like you can either like a rough plastic or a soft plastic, but they're not as soft to the touch. If you're doing this with younger children, I don't recommend getting these simply because you can't draw on this with a marker. The ink of the marker is just instantly going to rub off. It's not really going to absorb because it's pure plastic. If you can find the soft ones that are almost fabric-like, I definitely recommend those more. I had these. This is what I worked with. For the color change, we actually used spray paint, and it seems to hold on very well. So if you want to change the color and you can only find these, I would recommend a spray paint. You can find these at any craft store. There's a local craft store in the Pittsburgh area called Packatians. They have this in the Kid Craft aisle. I'm sure you could find this at Michael's or any other craft store. As for what you definitely will need is a pair of scissors and definitely some glue. Obviously, if you're doing this with young children, either do the cutting yourself or use safety scissors. Don't get hurt. I personally really love to use gems, and there are a few different types of gems you can use. You can use these really big fun ones. They come in different shapes. And as you can see, they're pretty big. Obviously, you don't want to do a lot of those on the masks. They're going to get overpowering. You can get packs of small gems, and I think gems add a really good pop to it. If you are not into crafts very often, you can get, and even if you are, these are actually really cool. They're stickers. Basically, it's regular gems, but the back of them is a sticker, so you don't need glue. They just stick right on. So like you'd put one on a mask, and it would just stick. There's no glue necessary. Younger children really love to use feathers. I mean, who wouldn't love feathers? They're just fun, they're fluffy. You can get a really good pack of these for like $2. They're really cheap. I do caution, if you have cats, your cats will probably try to chew on them. If for any reason your house is drafty, they will go everywhere, just like glitter. You could use glitter. Glitter gets extremely messy very quickly, and it doesn't tend to stay too much. I didn't feel like getting messy, so I don't have any glitter. And with young boys, what I found really popular is to make antenna. With pipe cleaner. So what you do is you just get a pipe cleaner, any color they want, and wrap it around your finger to make an antenna. And then you just snip this in half, and there are 2 antennae. Or you can make them longer if you want. Another thing that I do is also in the Kid Craft aisle is just foam board. You can cut shapes out with this and attach them on, but what I like to do with these is I actually attach them on to the back of my masks. And what I do is that keeps, I have a really big forehead, and that keeps it from rubbing up against my forehead and irritating it. If you sweat a lot, that's also probably a pretty good idea. That way it doesn't start to get all gross, and that way you can just rip it off at the end of the day. When I was younger, I found that the part right before the nose, against the cheekbones, really irritated me, and if that's something that bothers you or your children, definitely put some there. Just easier for me. I just simply cut out a shape that's below it so that you can't see it from the outside, and then I glue it, and then I attach the sides with tapes while it's drying. Right, so I'm going to make a mask, and you can do whatever you want with this. It is a mask. It is all about your personal creativity. So I'm just going to make my own with what I think's cute, and I'm going to go over the story of Purim. Make it however you want. If you just want to watch me make a mask, go for it. I will never stop you. If you do not know, if you want a more in detailed story of Purim, definitely go online. Typically when I don't know something, I go to Chabad.org. But they're very informative, so I would recommend them. Going to be very, very basic. So I take my mask, and if you want to color on your mask with crayon or marker, this would be the time to do it. Again, I have the plastic mask, and marker will not work on this, so I'm not going to do it. You could use an acrylic or even an oil-based paint. It's not going to be the best. Acrylic will crack, and then the oil base will run. If you use a spray paint, you're not going to be able to do a drastic design. You could maybe do like half a mask one color, half the other, or do lines, but typically with kids they're going to want to draw on it, and for that you definitely do want a the soft, almost fabric-like masks. Right, so the story of Purim itself actually happened a very long time ago, and when you're a kid last year seems like a long time ago, so the 4th century was a much, much longer time ago. If you don't know, this is the 21st century, and this is the story of Purim is from the 4th century, so that's a really long time, kids, a really long time. It was in Persia, and the king of Persia, he was having a beauty contest. He wanted to find the most beautiful available woman to become his wife. So he had this contest, and there was this absolutely beautiful girl named Esther. And she lived in this place. It was called Shushan, and her uncle was actually the leader of the Jews in Shushan. So there's Esther, and then her uncle Mordecai. Mordecai, again, being the leader, he advised Esther on a lot of the different things to do and to not do after she won the beauty contest. So Esther won this contest, and she became the queen. So she was the queen of what is now often called Persia. There was a very mean, evil man back in Shushan. His name was Haman. And he did not like Mordecai. He thought Mordecai was a mean person, when Mordecai was just following Torah. See? Cute antenna. I think little girls would like that too, actually. You can make like a ladybug. So, Haman wanted Mordecai to bow to him, and Mordecai would not do that because that is a form of idolatry, and that's just not okay to do. That's a very bad thing to do. So when Mordecai refused to bow to Haman, Haman asked his friends, what should I do? There's this guy, he's not doing what I want him to do. That's just not okay. I mean, who does he think he is? Haman was the king's right-hand man. He was a very powerful person, so to deny him was a big deal. But that's just not something that Mordecai was willing to do. So eventually what happened was Haman got this evil disaster plot to kill all the Jews. He did not know that Queen Esther at this time was Jewish. At the advice of Mordecai, she kept that hidden. She did not want people to know. And who can blame her? Haman got a royal decree, which is basically a law signed by the king, to have all the Jews in the entire land killed on a very certain day. What ended up happening was Mordecai found out, and he got a hold of Queen Esther, and they were trying to figure out, what are we gonna do? Yeah, very scary. Obviously, being wiped out isn't fun. It's a very scary thing. They were trying to keep calm and help everyone else out. So they ended up praying for 3 days. And this is when Mordecai then told Esther to have a council with the king. She ended up preparing for him a wonderful feast, and eventually she revealed to the king of Persia that she was a Jew. And he thought that she was so beautiful that he really didn't care that she was a Jew. And then Esther told the king what Haman was going to do, that he was going to kill all the Jews. And being that he was going to kill all the Jews, he was going to kill Queen Esther. And obviously that was just not something the king was going to do. He wasn't going to let his new beautiful queen be murdered. So he went to investigate this matter. And while that was happening, Haman had set up and had arranged for Esther's uncle to be killed, Mordecai. So when that was found out, the king was enraged, and instead of having the Jews killed, he took care of Haman, and Haman was no longer a threat. He had Haman killed, and then just like almost every Jewish story out there, the Jews survived. In a nutshell, that is the story of Purim. There is a lot more to it. I think a very big important thing behind it is that there was no overt miracle behind the story of Purim. It was a lot of everyday run-of-the-mill things that you wouldn't really tend to think twice about. Kind of like God was working behind the scenes. For example, Queen Esther winning the beauty pageant. She was an absolutely beautiful woman. Them finding out about the plot to kill the Jews because there was a summons sent out. I mean, it was all stuff that there is an explanation for, but coincidence piled upon coincidence piled upon coincidence. It was Hashem's way that the Jews be saved, and he used Esther and he used Mordecai. At the end of it, Purim. Why do we wear masks for Purim? Why do people dress up for Purim? After Haman was taken care of and he was no longer a threat, after they killed him, the Jews got to go and defend themselves against the people that were going to kill the Jews. And the reason you wear costumes, and by the way, I love costumes for anything. I'll have a masquerade ball in the middle of July. I don't really care. I think costumes are a wonderful, fun thing to do. But why do we wear them for Purim? For Purim, there's a few different reasons as to why. One of the things you do for Purim is you donate to charity. And one thing you can do for charity is people in your own community that are in need. It might be that they can't afford some of the things that you can afford. Maybe they have children, maybe someone's sick, and they're in need. So you want to give, help them out and give them charity, but you don't want to embarrass them. So that helps them with that, because everyone is in disguise, so to say. And you can tell I am a girly girl when I just start putting gems over everything. So that's one of the reasons why. Another reason why that there are costumes for Purim is because the miracle of Purim wasn't an overt miracle. It wasn't something that was before your eyes. There was no burning bush as there was for Moses. It was just a bunch of coincidences upon coincidence, which was all the work of Hashem. So it was kind of like the miracle was masked behind and disguised as the ordinary, when truly it was the miraculous. Oops, sorry. Purim, again, it's one of the most popular holidays among most people I know. It is a ton of fun. The kids tend to get a lot of candy. Candy is a fun thing to do for it. That's really cute. And it's a lot of fun. So, moral of the story, someone tried to do something disastrously evil against the Jewish people, and Hashem worked through the Jewish people in a somewhat disguised manner, and the Jews got to overcome, and not only overcome, but they got to overpower that evil, and they survived. That is the important part: surviving, thriving, continuing the heritage, reliving the tale to further generations, their children. And then, of course, this is going to be a really fun Purim this year, because you got your own fun little mask to make. One thing I do want to say is if you are gluing anything on, I taped a lot of things on just because glue takes very long to dry. I tend to use a super glue with my masks. If you are working this with children, don't use a super glue. Use just a regular school glue and then tape it down. But for regular, just fun run-of-the-mill masks, tape works just fine. Like, oops. This isn't going anywhere. That's fine. So in a nutshell, that is the story of Purim. There is definitely a lot more to it. Cute little fun mask. You can make them really easily. Masks were really popular this past year for Halloween. You could find them everywhere. And there was one that I saw, and that's actually what my inspiration for this was. It was a broken mirror, and each piece of the mirror was actually just a slightly different shade of various, like it started on one side as red and it went purple in the middle and then blue to one side. So I kind of just went with a rainbow gem look with feathers and antenna. So that is my Purim mask. I hope you guys enjoy your Purim masks. I want to say hello to Brandy and her 2 sons, and I hope you guys enjoy this fun Purim mask. And tell your mom to give you some candy. I hope they